Hello, everybody. This is going to be my first Raw review, and last night I expected Raw to be pretty well. Um, it was a pretty good episode compared to the past couple of episodes. Of course, namely because the crowd was actually alive this time. You know, in Chicago, you're always going to get a good crowd. You know, no matter what, no matter who's on the card. So I say overall it was pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and review Raw in chronological order. You know, from how it happened from the beginning of the show to the end of the show, as opposed to giving off like the huge big surprise at the end at the way beginning. So here we go. First off, Raw opened up with um, well, it showed Punk and King in a backstage brawl, and thought it was a unique way to open up the show, kind of to solidify Punk's heel status, I'm assuming. But of course, the Chicago crowd was not to be deterred. They were going to go ahead and cheer Punk anyways, even if he like brought out a gun or something like that. So I don't know what that was really going to accomplish there, except to kind of explain why King wasn't going to be on the show, which thank goodness, because I cannot stand him on commentary. He's very worn out, very cliche, just like any other WWE announcer. But he's just, he's past his prime on announcing. So please, just I don't know. Anyways, and then after that we had Sheamus come out and deliver a promo. It wasn't really much of a promo, obviously, because soon after that, Punk comes out to like a huge pop, as expected, and he was just going on about how Sheamus was second best and how Punk is best in the world because, well, partly because he's WWE champion, and the crowd just ate every bit of it up. And then as Sheamus tried to get in, his defense, the crowd kind of let him have it and just kind of booed him, and I just thought that was kind of interesting. And then they would later on declare a match. They were going to have a match later on the night. So, anyways, and then after that we had Ziggler versus Orton, which I predicted to be a very good match. I mean, if Orton's paired up with the right guy, then he's going to have a fantastic match. Ziggler, he can be pretty much paired up with almost anybody, and he will have a phenomenal match. So they had a really, really good match. I didn't write down the time of like how long they wrestled, but they did have a very good back and forth match, and I predicted that Ziggler was going to win because I do see them wrestling at Night of Champions. So, and that's going to be a really good match. I'm kind of predicting though that Orton's going to win. I kind of hope that Ziggler does get, the tiebreaker, but I mean, I don't know. We'll see, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be an awesome match at Night of Champions anyways, so that'll be really good. And after that I think we had Miz come out for commentary that he was going to do commentary for the rest of the night. And let me just tell you, oh my god, Miz was terrible. He was really, really terrible on commentary. He sounded like he was forced to be out there. I mean, he was forced anyways, because but I mean, like, he just sounded terrible. I mean, he really tried to usher in a lot of enthusiasm, and it just sounded way too plastic, just so forced. And he couldn't come up with much to say. He sounded very generic. I mean, and it's weird because he's so good on the mic, from time to time. Just to hear him on commentary just fizz out like that, it was just, eh. And Cole didn't really, for lack of a better word, jizz over the Miz, which was pretty weird because he's had this infatuation for him for about a couple of years, and all of a sudden he's kind of neutral. So I don't know. I guess he really is trying to tone down that heel gimmick, which isn't a bad thing, I guess. He's annoying either way on commentary. After that we had several Brian Kane segments with the anger management thing, which I think is really funny. I think they're the funniest segments to hit Raw long time, and I thought they were really good. It's kind of interesting to see where this whole feud or tandem is going to play out. I'm really excited to see that because it adds more dimension to Bryan's character and Kane's as well. So I think that'll be really good if they come together as a tag team or just another feud to put Bryan over possibly. I don't know, but all of those segments were pretty entertaining. So after that we had Rey and Sin Cara versus Cody Rhodes and Tensai. I think pretty much WWE has just given out all hope for Tensai. Like, I don't know exactly where he's headed. I think he's now going to be that guy that puts over the younger talent, and it's so weird because he was such on a roll, like starting out this year when his return, ensued, and he beat guys like Punk and Cena like almost cleanly, and now he's like losing to guys like Sin Cara and Tyson Kidd. So it's just really interesting to see that evolve from earlier this year. And anyways, Rey and Sin Cara beat Cody Rhodes and Tensai. It looks like Rhodes is going to have a feud with both Rey and Sin Cara. That's very interesting, I guess. All three are very good workers, with the exception of Sin Cara whenever he botches a lot, but I try to overlook that most of the time because Sin Cara is a great wrestler. So anyways, maybe Rey or Sin Cara, probably Sin Cara will face Rhodes at Night of Champions. Not sure who's going to win that, but in any event, that's going to be a good match as well. Let's see. Oh, and then we were going to have CM Punk versus Sheamus, and then Punk comes out and then says he's taking a personal day for Labor Day. I thought that was sort of an okay promo. He was coming out trying to play, like he was trying to play to the crowd and stuff, and the crowd ate it all up, again. And anyways, whenever he said that, I kind of figured that he wasn't really going to leave the arena. We see that many of times from a heel. They say they're going to leave, and then usually they come out for the end of the night to do something dastardly, as I'm going to cover that here on a little bit. After that we had Swagger versus Sheamus, and it was a very mediocre match. I try to get into Swagger whenever I can, and he does really nothing for me. And Sheamus's reign of world champion is really, it's not doing anything for me. It really isn't. I mean, Sheamus is a okay wrestler, but his reign is, I think it's just flat. I really hope that something interesting happens in his reign soon, or Ziggler cashes in or something like that, and they need to get rid of this Del Rio Sheamus feud. It's very, 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 I don't know, I think it's just seeing the end of its days, hopefully at Night of Champions, because they've been feuding for half the year, and nothing eventful has come out of it. So I don't know. Anyways, oh my god, and during the match, Sheamus applied the Texas Cloverleaf on Jack Swagger, and Cole was just yelling, like if he just saw the second coming of God or something. He was like, oh my god, we've never seen Sheamus apply this move before, ever. And we've seen that from Sheamus at least twice before this, and I just hate when Cole decides to insult our intelligence like that. It's really we've just seen WWE once, and we were just born yesterday. I don't know, that really pisses me off. Anyways, and then after that we saw Caitlyn versus Eve, which was a pretty okay match. Why did I even say that? I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of terrible. But I see Caitlyn trying to improve. I actually have a lot of hope for Caitlyn because I've been a big fan of her since NXT, and I hope she kind of gets the win over Layla for the Divas Championship, just to see where she's going to roll as champion, because I do think she has great potential, but we'll see. And then we had Ryback versus Jinder Mahal in a pretty standard Ryback match. Nothing very new or groundbreaking, and then Ryback, defeats Mahal, with ease. And and a second thing that it was actually a second instance of Cole annoying me with his god awful commentary. He was actually hyping up the fact that Ryback, who is probably the most imposing guy in WWE, he was hyping up the fact that he was lifting up a grown man on his shoulders with that shell shock finisher. And Cole made it out to look like that Ryback was Colin Delaney. Like he was just so surprised that Ryback, a man of his size, was lifting up Jinder Mahal. It was just stupid. I'm sorry if I'm bashing Cole, but that's terrible. Like he's really insulting our intelligence, about every week with like, oh, we've never seen this before. Like, oh my God, this is gonna be monumental, and we've seen it numerous times. So, anyways, after that we had the Brian Kane segment where they were hugging, and that didn't come as a shock to me as that the WWE Universe voted for them to hug it out, and I'm not gonna lie, I was going to. If they were going to have the whole hug out segment, I thought that was going to be very interesting, and I thought that'd be funny, because Brian and Kane with their segments, it seemed like they were going to make it work in terms of, a comedy segment. So, although I think the segment ran longer than it needed to be, although I did think it was funny. I liked how they were progressing with violence, like with the whole, and then like they would start like throwing kicks, and then you saw a choke slam, and them just brawling out on the outside and stuff. So I think that's very interesting to see how that's going to play out. I think they're going to have one more match at Night of Champions or something like that. Then I really do think Bryan's going to have a face turn coming up. So, which is seemingly inevitable because he gets cheered like at least every other Raw, that he goes to. Because he's just super over. It's hard to ignore all these cheers that he's getting, especially with his old yes gimmick. So anyways, and after that we had Antonio Cesaro versus Santino for the United States title. Practically any time that Santino gets in the ring, I'm dreading, because it's just going to be bad comedy. Not like his heel comedic days, which was just totally funny. Nowadays, it's just, I think it's really just done for the kids. Nothing for the adults really. Cesaro defeats Santino, and I think they should give more time for Cesaro matches, because I've seen some of his matches in Ring of Honor and they've been really good. And I just want Cesaro to be moving on to somebody else that can that is allowed to wrestle well. And I think him and Cesaro will have a really good feud, depending on who it is. So anyways, I have high hopes for Cesaro because he's a good wrestler. So anyways, after that we had Ryder versus Slater. That's pretty much self-explanatory. Ryder wins. Match. Nothing really much to say there. After that, we had a segment with Vicky and AJ, with Vicky protesting AJ, and Vicky wanting to take over as a general manager. I'm assuming Vicky's been a good GM whenever she has been, so I really wouldn't oppose to that. And then we have AJ coming out and Vicky demanding AJ to apologize, and it was interesting. Some WWE logic I don't get though, like with them like banning AJ to like not lay her hands on anybody, and then like Vicky decides to just slap her, and that's allowed, and we have like AJ throwing like a huge tantrum. She's having like a conniption, just throwing the chair and stuff like that. She's screaming, which I think is, I don't know, I'm not sure really what to think about that. That's just adds more to her crazy gimmick. And I'm pretty sure this whole thing with everybody leaving AJ in the dust, I think that's going to have a huge opening for Laurinaitis to come back soon, or somebody else. Usually face GMs don't really last on Raw, so I'm pretty sure they're going to bring Laurinaitis or someone else who's going to like establish a heel demeanor over on Raw back on the show. And after that, we have Del Rio versus Cena in a Falls Count Anywhere match. I thought that was a pretty good match. I mean, for a Cena match, I thought that was pretty well. Del Rio can pretty much wrestle with about anybody and make it look good. So we had several spots where they brawled on the outside, and then they led up to the backstage area with Cena, giving the AA to Del Rio on some crates. And then, like, out comes Punk, and then, like, with the roundhouse kick to lay out Cena, and I was, like, really ecstatic. I was like, yeah, and then he gives Del Rio the win, 1, 2, 3. And then he kind of, like, gives Cena a modified version of the go to sleep onto his car that he drove away in, or he had someone drive away in. And he gives, like, a go to sleep to him, and Cena's face hits the hood of the car. And then Punk kind of kneels down, squats down, and then he's like shouts respect, which is like kind of like his trademark catchphrase now. I'm assuming. I'll be surprised if they don't like pin that on a future Punk shirt, But I'll get it anyways because that sounds cool. And then like he gets into the car, and then he's about to drive away. He's about to have someone drive away, and then we have like Heyman to be revealed as the driver. And he's like looking down at Cena with such disdain. And then I was just like totally marking out. I was like, yeah. Like, man, I was really hoping that they would have, Punk and Heyman, be some sort of alliance, I mean, it won't make sense much on camera to most people. But like if anybody knows their behind the scenes relationship, then like they'll and I think they're gonna have, an unfolding of how Punk and Heyman are kind of close. And I would just love to see how that's going to play on out from here on to the future. And I think that's going to be really awesome. And really, if they want to give us promise, with this Punk-Heyman alliance, they really need to have Punk retain at Night of Champions. And I would really like to see Punk kind of hold the title until at least Royal Rumble, because that'll really, really build up Punk as like, a credible guy with the likes of Cena and Orton, and they really do need to breathe new life into the roster and give Punk, just a little more of a push for credibility. So if they really want to make Heyman and Punk work out, I really, really strongly recommend that Punk retains at Night of Champions. So anyways, man, I really didn't expect this review to go that long. Sorry, it's just with 3 hours, there's a lot of coverage that I need to go over. So hopefully this video goes through on YouTube. And next time, whenever I make a review, it'll be a bit shorter. So sorry to drag out. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed watching. So I might be back with another review for SmackDown or Impact, maybe. I don't know. So anyways, you guys have a good day.